Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, which means today it's Speak to Grow Mastermind. My name is Kathy Riley. I am the Queen Cat Herder. I am here to help and support you use the words in your business or personally, actually, to help you grow. Even though I'm 5'0" we can use words to speak to grow figuratively, literally, spiritually. And I got to say that was something that Mr. Chris here, who is our guest speaker today, gave me a little bit of grief on, which you guys will find amusing. Yeah, this was a couple months ago. So my platform is Speak to Grow, right? So use your words to grow. And then he's like, yeah, but you're 5'0". Like, how are you growing?
False advertising.
But I do believe small but mighty. If you have ever met me in person, you would not know that I am 5'0" because I show up big. So how you show up matters. The words that you use matter. So today I'm excited. We're here to speak to grow. So I'm excited you all are here. Mr. Oliver, welcome, welcome, welcome. So today we have a fantastic guest speaker, and that is Mr. Chris O'Byrne. And he is going to help us utilize tools. Is there anyone in the room that actually has published a book? Let me see, show of hands. Fantastic. Is there anybody that would like to publish a book? Okay, all of your hands should be up because that is one of the biggest ways you can grow your business, your presence, and quite honestly, your expertise. I do believe when you sit there and say that I'm an author, you stand out. And as a speaker, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, even as a human, to sit there and say, yeah, I got this little thing. So I'm a best-selling author. People are like, damn, it raises who you are. And Mr. Chris, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. So he has published over 15,000. Can you hear that? 15,000 books in the past 18 years. Many of them WSJ bestsellers. And quite honestly, what is WSJ?
Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. See, I learned something new right here. That's pretty damn cool. Wall Street Journal bestsellers. He's also the author of 17 international best-selling books. Who would like part of that, huh? He is the founder of Jet Launch Publishing and is the owner of Pivot, a leading business magazine that reaches 30 million people each month. His latest book is called Book Launch 2.0, a new way to launch your book to generate leads, sales, and success. So the guy kind of knows what he's doing. It's kind of exciting. And so this is a fun fact that I'd like to share because I like to get a little personal with my guest speakers and my friends, that his oldest child is 41 and his youngest is 7. And the youngest wasn't an oopsie, which that just tells you what kind of guy this is, right? So please, but he's my kind of crazy. So please put your hands, let me see your twinkle fingers, and welcome Mr. Chris O'Byrne.
Oh, Kathy, thank you so much. And it was great to see you in person. And Mac, you too, about what, a week and a half ago. It has flown by. But today I'm going to talk about bestsellers and the best-selling, why even would you bother with a bestseller? And so we're going to talk about that first. Kathy's got me at a very strict limit of how much I can talk today. Last time I didn't realize, I thought it was an hour. I just went blah, blah, blah. So the reasons why to do a bestseller, the first one, of course, is credibility. And that's what most people think of. I'm a best-selling author. The ability to take that and just use it to leverage yourself and your reputation. I'll talk a little bit more about that. because a lot of people don't take advantage of that. So there's credibility, and then there's traffic, because when you do a bestseller launch, you're sending a lot of people to go buy your book. Now, that can result in some extra money, but I put that at the bottom of the list, because any money you do make from your book, I believe, should just go right back into promoting your book. But that traffic, even more importantly, results in a higher position in Amazon's algorithm. So you want more people to see your book. Amazon has an algorithm, how they do that. And the few pieces I know are, if you send a lot of, well, one, if you send a lot of traffic and not many people buy, then you start to fall down in the ranking. But if you send a lot of people and a decent percentage of them buy, then you'll start going up in the ranking. And it's not just your bestseller rank on Amazon that matters, although that's pretty important. It is also the fact that they will show you more often. Because when you upload your book to Amazon, you're going to use keywords. There are keywords in your title and subtitle and book description and all that. What you're really doing is you're taking advantage of their search engine by doing a bestseller launch. So the bestseller launch can leverage their search engine, and then that will boost you as well. People will start seeing your book more often. They'll recommend it. Fourth reason is engaging with followers. So doing a bestseller launch is a great way to have an event. And it doesn't even have to be in person. Most bestseller launches are online events. And you can make it simple, and you send people to go buy your book, and there's bonuses and there's some cool things like that. But you can turn it, I've seen some really fantastic book launches, bestseller launches, where they get a bunch of people going, and those people are bringing guests, and you've got some cool events, and you name it, you can do it with one of these things. You can, of course, read bits and pieces of your book. You can have contests. You can get up on the bar stool and dance. You can do all sorts of things. There's lots that you can do to engage people and grow your followers. So it's also a really good way to get more people to follow you, to get on your email list, etc. And then of course, the fifth one was that the money. You sell books, you'll make money. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the two different kinds of bestseller launches. One's paid and one's free. But I want to talk a little bit more about that credibility piece. People go through all the work. Well, first of all, most authors go through all the work of writing their book, and then they don't do anything with it. They throw it up on Amazon and they think that's it. And they don't do any marketing of any kind. Well, that's a great big waste of money. That's like painting a masterpiece and hanging it up in your spare room where nobody will ever see it. You have to let people know that it exists. The point of marketing is to let people know that you and your book especially exist. So then if you take that next step and you do a bestseller launch, yeah, you're going to get a whole bunch of people to know about you, and you've built your reputation, your credibility, your authority. Then what do you do with that? And a lot of people don't do anything. Uh, Maybe they'll put it on like an email signature. They might mention it, but that whole modesty thing comes into play, especially a lot of false modesty. And they really, it kind of is, sometimes it's ignorance, a lot of times it's just laziness. But man, you make that bestseller list, you let everybody know. It's part of your profile on LinkedIn and every other social media outlet out there. It is anytime you're going to talk with people, anytime you're going to have any kind of interface between you and somebody else, you want that in there. Put it in your email signature, shout it from the rooftops. Don't let that opportunity go by. If you have a sales process of any kind, or even marketing process, you're marketing your business, why not talk about your best-selling book when you're marketing your business? Because now that puts you above the crowd. Why not do it in your sales process? You know, when I wrote my best-selling book, blah blah blah, you go on, and just slip it in there every chance you get because it's credibility, but it doesn't do you any good if people don't know about it. So that's like the biggest mistake I see people doing is not leveraging that credibility. We talked about the traffic. This is also going to lead into, in the Amazon stuff, this is also going to lead into the two kinds of bestseller launches. But when you start ranking in, you're making sales on Amazon and you start ranking in their algorithm and their little bots are all paying attention, they start promoting you more. They don't start promoting you more forever. After 30 days, if you aren't continuing to send traffic and for people to buy your book, Amazon's like, oh, well, all right, moving on to the next new thing, and they stop promoting you. So it has a lifespan. So that is why what we do now is we promote the idea that you do two launches initially, planned for two initially, and then I think really you should plan ongoing. But with these two launches, the first one is what people normally think of as a bestseller launch. It's the event. You're letting people know it's a paid launch. And by paid, I mean people are paying to buy your book. Typically, you want it to be 99 cents for your ebook. Doesn't matter what your print book is. It's the ebook that you're sending people to buy. 99 cents is an impulse buy, a no-brainer. People will do it for their friends. People, they don't think about it. But it again, it's going to get you a little bit of money, especially if you start getting, you get 1,000 people buying your book. That's a nice big chunk of money. And I've seen people do multiple thousands easily. It's just a matter of the process of engaging and marketing your event and all of that stuff. But that paid launch, the 99-cent book launch, that's the big one. That's what most people think about when they're doing a launch. And that's great. That's going to get you what you need to start ranking on Amazon, to get people's attention and all of those pieces. The next thing is, all right, if I do this big event and then I don't sell anything for a while, when should I do the next event? Well, then what we do is we call it a bestseller boost. This comes about 3 weeks later, and this does not have to be an event, especially 3 weeks later. You're not going to get a whole lot of traction on it at that point. But there are newsletters that you can pay to have your book published in. And by published, I mean ads and advertisement in these newsletters. So there are multiple newsletters that do that. So you can do one and then space it out every 3 weeks, do the next one 3 weeks later, the next one 3 weeks later. And what you're doing is this is the free one. So these are newsletters that hundreds of thousands of people subscribe to because they want free books. And they will download that book even if they don't read it. Some of those people are going to be ideal clients of yours. Some of those people just want a free book and this looks interesting. That's okay because the benefit you're looking for here is keeping up in the Amazon algorithm so that when your ideal client who doesn't know about your free newsletter approach goes to Amazon and searches for a topic that your book talks about or teaches about, they're much more likely to find it and buy it. So that's the purpose of that free launch. Your book is listed for free. And if you're with, Amazon's KDP and you use the KDP Select, they give you 5 free days every quarter. Every 90 days, you can have your book listed for free. And so take full advantage of those and do that. And then again, there's just several of these newsletters out there. You keep it going. Those are not being promoted to your group. They're not being promoted to your followers because, there's fatigue, marketing fatigue. People are no longer going to be as interested or as excited if you have a new big launch every 2 to 3 weeks. However, You got your first big one. You got your free launches every 3 weeks. Now you can look at doing another launch. People think, oh, I can only do my launch when my book first comes out. I've seen people do book launches 2 years later, and they still work great. I've seen people do book launches multiple times. Maybe they'll start out with their print book. They'll do a paperback. Maybe they'll have a paperback and a hardcover. You've seen traditional publishers do this. First book that comes out is the hardcover. They don't put out any other book, and that could be up there for 6 months. So if your favorite author comes out with a new book and it's only available in hardcover, you're going to buy it. And so they're planning and thinking strategically. So maybe you do your hardcover, and then 2 months later, you do the paperback. And then maybe 2 months later, you do your ebook. And then if you do an audio book, and you can even repeat those launches. If you don't want to go through all that, you're like, you know what? Every 6 months, I'm going to have another launch. Same book, same, everything. Your same event. You're going to get a lot of people that are going to go to the same event all over again because they like you and you're fun and you do cool things and it's an event, and they're going to invite people, and you can bribe them to invite people. Hey, you bring 5 people and you'll get this or that, and I won't get into those details, but there are things that you can do to encourage people to bring new people in. You can go on podcasts. You can speak at all sorts of places. Kathy's the expert there. There are all sorts of platforms for speaking now. So take advantage of those. And incorporate your launch and your event into that, because it's a lot more interesting. Yeah, you'll get some people like, oh, so and so spoke on my podcast and they have this book out that's really cool and does these things, and go to their website here. But if they're like, they've got this really cool book and all this stuff, and there's a big event coming up in 3 weeks and you don't want to miss it, that brings a whole bunch more people. So these are just some tips of marketing. It's tips of explaining what the bestseller launch can do for you, the different kinds that you can do. What I'd like to do is open it up and answer some questions at this point, because last time I ran out of time. And I want to be able to, because I'm sure there's some questions coming up about this process or the idea of it that you'd like to ask.
Oh,
If
I
not,
love
just
it.
pretend you
Guys,
do.
if anybody has a question, feel free to raise your hand, or you're welcome to throw it into the chat. But I had a question early on, but you answered it. So for those people that we know that have launched a book, and just so we're on the same page here, Chris, somebody's launched a book and they didn't hit bestseller because they didn't understand that how to do bestseller platform, right? They just launched their book. They're like, oh gosh, like, golly, I'm so excited. I have my book and now I'm an author. They can do a bestseller campaign right now. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. There is no one, you only have one chance at it. It has to be shortly after your book's published. You could you could do one for your book, Kathy, right now, and set it up and have this big event and all sorts of things you can do. There are no limitations on that.
Fantastic. And so does
So
anybody else have any questions?
I
I
have one question.
Mac.
So I'm on Amazon right now. So when you're doing a campaign, the bestseller campaign is what? Like the sponsored products or the brands or the ads? Which
So
one?
that's different, because now you're talking about Amazon ads, which is a whole nother piece that most people don't take advantage of. So with Amazon ads, that's different. That's You can combine the two. The Amazon ads can boost your the bestseller launch, especially if all of a sudden your book is now 99 cents and normally it's 4.99 or 9.99. Uh, but they're separate. So the bestseller launch is more about interacting with your platform or other people's platforms to get people to show up on a specific day or 2 days if you want, and then buy your book that way. And you're giving out bonuses and you're engaging people. Amazon ads, those are simply taking advantage of Amazon's search engine for people to find your book and go to it. So if you're running Amazon ads, Amazon is going to take it, they're going to show your book a lot more often because you're paying for them to do that. So your ideal client comes along, they type in one of the keywords that you have in your ad, then your book is likely to be shown depending on how competitive that keyword is. And then, of course, the other advantage of doing Amazon ads is you get to see what keywords people are actually typing in to find your book. That's the only way to find out what keywords people are actually using, specifically for your book, is through Amazon ads. So all sorts of good things about those.
All
Yeah,
right.
but they are
Very
separate
cool.
beasts. Yeah.
Mac, you had a question.
Yeah, Chris, you talked about an ebook selling for 99 cents. And, I've always been under the belief that it's for publicity that you're doing a book, not to make money. But what kind of cost to get to that point so you could sell it for 99 cents is it's an ebook, so you don't have 10,000 copies sitting in the warehouse. But can you give some idea of cost and expectations? Are you spending 5 times as much as you can expect back, 10 times, 1 time?
No, I mean you have your initial costs in creating the book. And so you can set that aside and look at, okay, I need to make this much money to get my return on investment. Then when it comes to the books actually being up there, remember, this is, even if it wasn't an ebook, it's just a print book, it's all print on demand. So once it's up on Amazon, you don't pay anything unless people buy the book. And so when it comes to setting up the bestseller launch, then it's going to be a question of, are you paying for ads, for example? And most people don't do ads, because you can do Facebook ads to promote and LinkedIn ads and whatever to promote your bestseller launch. You don't have to rely.
There's still a cost in doing that.
Right. So there's a cost in doing ads, but most people don't do ads. They're just leveraging their network. There's a cost for being in those newsletters for the free version, but that's like $60, $70 to get into that. And then that can send hundreds or thousands of people to buy your book or get your free book and download it. But Amazon pays attention to that. Those are still downloads to them.
Well, then if I hear you correctly, if you're going to do it, you should do it correct.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Take full advantage of it.
Yeah, there's 2 folds here, Mac, when it comes to when you talk about cost. It's cost of creation of book and cost of marketing. The bestseller campaign is true marketing. The creation, the beautiful thing about Achieve Systems is we have systems in place to create a book, right? The fact that you do need to hire somebody to double check your work to help create the right cover, the pagination, all of that, that's the cost.
In my case, they have to check it 3 times.
No surprise there. But so the marketing component, you don't have to spend $10,000 to create an amazing marketing. You can leverage individuals. You can leverage expertise like Chris. You can leverage what you know to get bestseller like this. And that's a question. Like I went bestseller within 2 hours. And so Chris, I'm asking you this question, right now, the answer I always say is like, how did you go bestseller? What's the formula? And I said, when it comes to Amazon, it depends, because it just depends on what's going on in Amazon any given day, any given time. The number to hit bestseller is changing all the time. Is that true?
It is true. The choice of category is very important because if you choose a very general, broad category and you're trying to hit bestseller in that, you could be up against some really big names who are also releasing the same week. But Amazon has really thousands of categories, and so you can niche down into those categories. Now, let's say there's a category at the top and there's a niche, then you're down four. Well, you can do so well here at this level that you also are a bestseller in the next category and the next and the next. I've seen it go all the way up. So you want to choose those categories. So you're going to hit that bestseller, but you can end up hitting it in way more categories than you planned on originally. And I do want to make sure I answer Cheryl's question before we go, because I know she had her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So I do have a book up on Amazon, and
Nice.
I probably sold 4 copies. And see how that goes. But I've never promoted it. So I was really intrigued by the concept of doing the free, where they allow you to list it for free, and, more of a lead gen. It's been up there for a while. I actually feel like there's probably some updating that would even need to be done on it, but could definitely use it as a good lead gen. It's an interactive workbook for families. I just like, how would that work? Because it still costs them to print it. So do you pay the cost of that printing then only? Like, do they charge you for?
No, in that case, so if the free one is primarily for the ebook, it's not for the print book,
Not for
because
the
you're
print.
always going to
Okay.
have those base costs. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they let you know on Amazon the minimum price that you can list it at.
Okay. Gotcha. So I could
Yeah.
probably drop it down, but could not probably. I might.
Right. So you could drop it down for the launch. You're pushing people to the ebook, but always when people go to get the ebook, there are people who are buying the print book on top of it.
Okay. Okay.
What I find interesting is people, they do this big launch, right? This in-person event, and they have boxes of books. But that really does not do anything to the bestseller campaign. Is that correct?
Correct. Doesn't affect it at all.
That was my understanding too, Kathy, is that because the author bought those books. I didn't buy that book. The author bought it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, that bestseller, if I'm correct, I don't know, Chris, like you're the whiz there. It seems like if I am the author and I'm buying the books, then that probably doesn't go towards my
It doesn't count at
best-selling
all.
category. Because I
And
could
if
have a
somebody-
warehouse, like Max said, full of 10,000 books.
Yeah. You could have one person buy 100 books. It counts as one sale.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, on my website, I had this also as a downloadable ebook, but if they go there and buy it, it's not gonna count.
Right. It'll,
Right.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that only counts. Yep. It's all on Amazon's platform.
Okay.
That's interesting that you said that, Chris, about if one person buys 100 books, because my book was geared towards a lot of high school kids, and we were putting it inside of schools and putting it, it was actually becoming a course inside of high schools, but the schools themselves would purchase
Multiple.
bulk purchase the books, and that, like you said,
Right.
that's one sale. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so yep. It's if every single one of those kids bought it, then it would be awesome.
Yeah. Mac?
Since I joined Achieve, I've been, listening to you and thinking about the whole book thing. And I recognize everybody else that is selling books, and that, celebrities, seems like everybody on Fox News has a book out right now. I did the Tony Robbins seminar last year, and that it was 10 grand or something. But I got on 2 different mailing lists. He sent me 2 copies of the same book. So would he have bought that? Was that a reason just to build up his overall numbers?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Because what they do in that case is he prints off, thousands of books, and the drop shipper handles that. And when you click the right, link, and it does the right trigger, and then the drop shipper gets the email and they send it out to you, and you get a book from Tony. But yeah, it's all set up in a system ahead of time.
Well, I heard you saying, if one person bought it, I would have thought that he was the one that bought it, but they're probably listing my name as bought it because I bought the membership.
Oh, that's not even showing up on Amazon at all.
Oh,
He's having a totally different printer handle it. So it's outside of the Amazon system completely.
okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's something
Yeah.
that as authors, we need to remember that, your launch of a book and your bestseller campaign are two very different things and needed to be handled differently. And it's not explained, and I know that's not explained in Achieve very well. We're doing better at that. That's why Chris is coming in. That's why we've partnered with him and SAB and all that. So we have a better understanding that just because you now have a book in your hand doesn't make you a bestseller. And what got you here is not going to get you there.
Yeah. Yep. Actually had a good talk this morning with a couple other alphas about, we have a whole system we're planning and putting together to replace the current publishing model that Achieve is doing.
I love
So,
it. I love it.
busy.
We're a little bit over, so if anybody needs to go, I completely respect that and honor that. But I'm loving this conversation.
Stop, Isaac.
Is there another question? Chris, if you're okay to keep.
Yep, I'm okay. And here's my email. If people want to just email me questions later too, that's totally fine.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Because I know I have a few. All right, so I'm going to ask the bestseller campaign, okay, strategies for that, and versus international best-selling campaign. There's got to be a difference. Can you break that down just generically?
Yeah, if you it's of course for us, it's a lot easier to hit that bestseller in the US, but if you then hit the bestseller on Amazon Canada or any of the other countries that they're in, if you hit it in one other country in addition to the US, then you're an international bestseller. And often if you're going to do that, you'll see a few different countries. Usually I'll end up with Australia, India, sometimes France, Britain, Canada, the US.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
can
places where
target those Amazon versus the US.
right. Yeah, yep. So you can do, you can target different audiences, especially, if you have somebody in another country that you can partner with who has an audience, then you can do it that way. Again, you can be creative in how you're leveraging the audience from other countries. And there are links that you can use that you have one link for your book, and then wherever they are at in the world, when they click on that link, it'll take them to their Amazon country, whichever one is, either they're in that country already or they're close to it. So yeah, you can use one link to get, so that people will always go to their choice, their Amazon store of choice.
I love it. I love it. Did that stir any questions?
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. This is fun. And I still went over, Kathy.
It's all good. It's all good. Mac knows I got my little timer, but it's a good conversation to have. I love that we're having this conversation because I honestly believe if we are to speak to grow our business, we must have, I really believe that our biggest asset is to have a book and a bestseller at that. And it can happen for each and every single one of us. It truly
Yeah.
can.
Yep.
It opens up doors. It creates, it puts you on stages. It creates that credibility, that expertise. It is a must have for speakers. It really is.
I do have one more question.
Miss
Yeah.
Cheryl.
Yeah, one more question. So I also have a downloadable. It's not really a book though. It's a family meeting system for families to connect
okay.
to the kitchen table. It does have a guidebook with it, but it's more than just a book, right? It's a whole system. I love the physical form of it, which is why I've always kind of leaned more towards it because it's, it's got other elements with it, but I do have it in an downloadable format. Is that something they would do on Amazon, even though it's not just a straight book for an ebook type of concept?
You mean as far as selling it on Amazon?
Yeah, because it's not just a book, it's a whole system. It's there's different components
Yeah.
to it. Do they?
They tend, yeah, probably not.
Okay, all right.
They toyed at one point with selling, courses and systems like that, and then they backed out of it. So
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
it's
Good to know.
best to have a short book that is like the lead gen for that system, for that program.
Okay,
Yeah.
I do have that too, so I guess that's a fun thought.
Yeah. And keep in mind that you don't have to have a separate book that is to establish credibility and another one that is to generate leads. They can be the same book, and it's pretty easy to do.
Okay.
Oh, any other questions?
Hmm.
Matt gave a look. I just thought for a minute there he was going to say something.
This is very helpful. Thank you. I launched, when I published my book, I had no idea how to do a marketing or a launch or any of that. So I wonder okay, so I wanted to ask you one more question before you go on the newsletter. How do I get on the newsletter? What do I pitch?
Oh yeah, you don't have to pitch anything. You just have to pay for it. So
And
if you look up free book
do I pay
newsletters,
Achieve to do that or
oh
does
no,
Achieve do
you're just paying them directly.
Okay.
Yeah, let me look up
I
free.
was gonna say, that's
Yeah,
probably just a
just
quick
type
little
in
Google
free.
search. Yeah.
Yep, type in free book newsletters, and a bunch of different ones come up. Yeah, just
Mhm.
do some searching, and you'll find a bunch of them and they'll list their prices, exactly what it costs, and you schedule it, and then you make sure that you schedule, because if you're using KDP Select so that your book is free, you got to make sure that you kind of coordinate those at the same time. So
So
I've done one of those newsletters and then forgot to, this is early on, forgot to also make it free on Amazon. And then they check, and they're like, by the way, your book's not free, so you're out $75. And because we're not even going to promote it because they can't, because it's not free. And there
Okay.
are other newsletters that have, low cost books as well. There are newsletters you can promote in when your book is 99 cents, for example. So you've got some, it's not just for free books.
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome.
So I love this. Clearly, it's one of those, like, if you are moving towards a bestseller campaign, I think the one thing you have to do is sit down with Chris. I mean,
Yeah, at least let's talk about it.
that's so Chris, what's the best way? I know you put your email in the chat. What's the best way to schedule time with you?
Yeah, just do that. If you have a schedule link, send it to me. I do have a schedule link, but I've marked off every day as busy now for the next couple months so that I can pick and choose which ones who I talk to. Otherwise, it was just I wasn't getting anything done. So yeah, just
Say that out loud.
I know it's a good group. I can get away with it.
Being truthful.
It's called Creating Boundaries. And
That's right.
I love it. Good for you for being your own advocate and creating boundaries.
But I
Yes.
would gladly talk to anybody here.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Chris, so much. You're very generous of your time and talents because as you see, you know, he has published tens of thousands of books, guys. He knows what he's talking about. He's got the expertise. And he's partnering with an Achieve to take the way we publish books to the next level.
Yep.
So
Doing a lot of work there. It'll be a new beast come October.
new beast come October. Fantastic. I love to hear that. So schedule time with them. Any other words of wisdom, parting wisdom, Mr. Chris?
Parting words of wisdom. Think twice before you have your fifth child at age 7 when all the rest are in their 30s and 40s. And she heard me, she's laughing in the other room. She knows.
That's why we say they're a blessing. You're such a blessing.
Yep. So
You're
are all the other trials and tribulations of this world.
All right, with that, we are going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for being here. We will be back again next Tuesday, so please feel free to come back. We're going to continue how to speak to grow. Thank you so much, Chris, for your time and
Thank you.
talents and really, really opening our eyes as to the concepts behind launching a book and a bestseller campaign. It is fantastic. So to all my new bestsellers out there, peace out. We've got this. We'll put it together. Get with Chris, schedule some time with him, and let's just go big. Sound good?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
Love it.
Thanks,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
You
Chris.
bet.
Thank you.